Hi, and welcome to Omni Edition Garden City. I am Dan York, and with me is someone who you have seen around Garden City for a long, long time, a very good friend of mine, Kevin Kramis.
Hi.
Welcome to this program and to this desk.
I have not been in this room, like in this configuration. It's very exciting.
One of the things Kevin does every year with us, or every other year, is the stage manager for Election Night Live and hustles the candidates in and out. So he's normally working this side of the table, bringing people in and out. But among the other reasons that we have Kevin here today is to talk about a really unique experience that he's about to go through. He is about to go on tour with the USO. Is that correct?
It's a USO type tour. It's through Armed Services Entertainment, but it's a tour of naval bases in Southwest Asia, Africa, and Europe.
Okay, so if anybody doesn't know, Kevin's profession, among other things, is that of a stand-up comedy. And you've been doing that since you were in high school.
Pretty much, yeah. 1986, going back a couple years.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
a little bit.
A little bit.
And Kevin and I have known each other, I believe was it 8th grade at Garden
Like
City
that.
Junior
Garden
High?
City Junior High, yeah.
The first year of it, maybe?
79, 80, something like that.
No,
Right,
no,
or no, 80.
No, 82, 80,
yeah,
something
right,
like that.
right, yeah, 82, 83. Something like
And the reason I met Kevin in the first place is Jerry Kiesel, who was the principal, where we're going to take everybody down memory lane, and those who don't know what we're talking about don't care.
that. They don't care.
Jerry Kiesel was the principal at the junior high and wanted me to come down and announce the freshman sports just like we did at the high school.
Right.
And Kevin would sit behind me and chirp that he wanted to announce the games.
I kept score.
And that's right.
I was John Lender's scorekeeper.
And you were just busting me until I finally let you start doing stuff.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know you from anybody.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you had just got out of high school. And,
Myself, right?
Yeah.
Like minutes out of high school. So that's when Kevin and I met, and Kevin has been doing a lot of the same stuff that I do ever since. But first of all, talk about how you got this gig with the USO.
I have a friend of mine, Derek Richards, who's a comic who's originally from the Romeo area. He lives in Vegas now. And Derek has been doing these types of shows since the early 2000s, right after Iraq fell.
Okay.
So he's performed in like 7 of Saddam's palaces.
Wow.
Just on the ground. They throw guys,
Yeah.
wherever you're at, and you just do a show on the ground. So
Okay.
he's been doing that for years. And he was on this tour coming up that I'm on, that leaves September 5th, and there was a fallout.
Okay.
And it's just the kind of, I know somebody. Derek.
Right.
I worked with Derek in Cleveland in June, and we had talked about these two. He had just come back from a month, and he was in Egypt and Afghanistan, and he was all over with a similar group of comics. And I was like, wow, that's like bucket list stuff, And so he just called me up. There was a fallout. He called me up 3 weeks ago and said, are you available September 5th to the 17th? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, even if I'm not, I am,
Yeah,
right?
I will make myself available, yeah. So.
And you mentioned that the tour, he's done stuff where they just set up on the ground and just do it. I mean, the only reference people have to this is probably Bob Hope.
Probably, yeah.
Where they just throw a stage in the
just
middle
throw a
of
stage in the middle
a combat zone.
Exactly.
And this is similar to that, but not a combat zone.
This is Navy, so
Yeah.
it's not really combat zones.
Yeah.
Not that they're not dangerous places to be.
Right. So will it be on the ground or on ships?
There'll be both. We leave here on the 5th. I go to Bahrain, and there's two shows in Bahrain. Then we go to Djibouti, which is northeast Africa,
Okay.
and do a show in Djibouti, and then back to Bahrain, and then to a ship, supposed to land on an aircraft carrier.
And it's a tailhook landing, right?
That's what the agency said, a tailhook landing. So I don't know. My brother, the lieutenant colonel in the Air Force, says probably helicopter, but I don't have any idea. So, and it could change, depending on what's going on in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So we do the ship, then we go to Crete, Soda Bay, Crete, and then Romania, and then home.
Do you just see where the Navy takes you, or do you guys have time to yourselves?
We have time to ourselves. Apparently, this is what Derek said. He said, show is only 90 minutes. There's
Right.
me, Derek Richards, and Brian Cork, a comic from Chicago. So, if the show's at 7 o'clock that night, you have all day if you're there all day.
Wow.
So, in fact, he said, and it says in the contract, we'll meet the admirals or the commanding officers and get toured. They really like to show things off.
Yeah,
Or he
okay.
said Djibouti, he said they'll want us to take us out and show us the city. They'll throw us an armored vehicle and drive us around Djibouti.
Wow.
So, and he said it's not a lot to see if, it's
Yeah.
pretty blown out, but he said
But it's an experience.
it's an experience that the military really likes to show things off and show what they do. So
Okay. And you've performed out of the country before, right?
yes, I was with Celebrity Cruise Lines I did in, was it 2014? So I did a med cruise over there in Greece and Italy and Malta. And,
Sure.
Montenegro. I was in Montenegro, so
Okay.
that was pretty neat.
And then the Caribbean. Where do you go regularly in the Caribbean?
I work at Atlantis in the Bahamas usually once a
Okay,
year.
the Bahamas. Okay.
So that's Paradise Island in Atlantis.
All right. But this is really cool.
Yeah, this is cool. I mean, the Bahamas is fun, but I mean, this is you get to go to Europe and go to some bases and see that. And I feel really grateful to be able to even do something like this and to give
Right.
back. you
Sure.
know.
No, that's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
So if people don't know, we talked briefly about your start, but what are some of the things you've done as a comic?
Well, I work Vegas a bunch of times. I am the host for the past 7 years of the Michigan Brouhaha, which is the biggest beer drinking festival in the state of Michigan. It's a 2-day festival in Saginaw at the Dow Center in their 2,500 seat theater.
Okay.
And I kind of drive the bus for that for the last 7 years. And the host of for 11 years, the Chelsea Library Family Comedy Night on their front lawn.
And that's multiple days, right?
That's multiple days. That's every Thursday in June. I've been doing that since 2008, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. People like me to open their shows.
And you've performed with a lot of big names.
Jeff Foxworthy, Tim Allen, Judy Tenuta, Billy Gardell. Billy Gardell's actually stayed in Garden City.
At your house.
At my house, yeah.
Now people might not recognize Billy Gardell from his name.
Mike and Molly,
Okay.
the star of the TV show Mike and Molly.
Right.
So I've known Billy since, 20 years, probably. So, yeah, I've worked with a lot of good guys. Couillet out of Detroit. John Heffron, I started out with 2-1 Last Comic Standing. I've known John for 20 years.
In Leo DeFore, which is kind of a comic, may not be known to a lot of people now in the States.
Right.
But that was kind of your mentor, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, that was the club that you guys snuck me into.
In Windsor.
In Windsor back in 1986, and he's been my friend ever since,
And you did most of your early stuff in Windsor.
Yeah, the first couple of years, just because I was underage and
Here.
and I wasn't underage over there, so I got to go over there and do a lot of comedy over there before.
Yeah. Now, Kevin, along with Jamie Ratcliffe, was one of the people that helped me start my business. Yeah, back in the 1983-ish.
Yeah.
And one of the things Kevin did through that was a show called Up Your Alley, which was a bowling show that was on cable television. Back when to give people a little bit of history, there was one cable company. It was McLean Hunter out of Toronto that ran Garden City. They had the building you see on Pardo now, had 2 studios in it. They had a big television truck. And they did a lot. I mean, they
Lots of
really
things.
changed things in Garden City because they put everything on television for a long time. And that was we were kind of a derivative of that, of the stuff they didn't want to do, we
Right.
did, and we did the government stuff. And so Kevin and I don't even know, Jim Ray, we ruined his dream of how we did it. But explain what Jim Ray, how he was involved in this.
Well, Jim Ray was he the commissioner? Or he was
on the cable
he was on the
commission. He might have been
cable
the chairman.
commission
Good
at the
friend
time.
of Vince Fordell at the time.
And I didn't know Jim. You knew Jim. You're the one
From
that
the
said
cable
to me, hey,
Jim Ray wants to do
something to do with bowling, and
we turned it into something that was less about bowling and more about Kevin.
making fun of things.
So that was 30 years ago this year.
That's what they say.
And the guys here at GCTV have been working for over a year now, digitizing these. So there were about 150 episodes approximately. And we've been able to get our hands on about 130 of those. We're probably missing a couple here and there. And so the guys here have been digitizing those so that we can re-release them. They're all on VHS tape, folks. I mean, some of them might be super VHS tape, but it's VHS
Maybe. I don't
tape.
even know. Boy.
Yeah. And we've been redigitizing these, and we're going to make these available on YouTube and Facebook in the next couple of weeks. So we're working on that, and we'll wait till Kevin gets back from his world tour.
Yeah,
before we do that. But so that's if you remember Up Your Alley, it was very funny.
It was funny. It was the show that was the lead-in to the city's
Right.
government channel.
Right. So there was this goofy bowling show with Kevin cracking jokes, and And we were all in love with Letterman at the time, so everything you did was inspired
Letterman-ish.
Letterman-ish. But it had a comedy open. They'd bowl and then talk to the people, do an open, do the bowling, and then Kevin would kibitz with the bowlers.
And there was characters that we had that helped us on the not character people.
Well,
but
kind of,
kind of.
Larry Bud
Larry,
Melman kind of
right.
people, right? Exactly. And sometimes it was in an empty bowling alley with just us, and then sometimes we'd get a couple of hundred people, depending on. We did it at Silver and Garden.
Mm-hmm. One fire.
Thanks, Harold.
Yeah, it was a good time. That was a long time ago, but there was a lot. You think all the folks that were the Pummels were on it, Coach Ron Pummel, and Jeff Defran was on it.
Yeah,
there's a lot of folks out there. Rick Brooks, who's a
sheriff,
Wayne County Sheriff. He's the canine officer. He keeps
Is
bugging.
he now?
Yeah, he keeps bugging me like, "Hey, when can we get those copies? When can we?" And he was a kid.
Again, just between you and I, because no one else will care. I was sitting on a jury out in Wayne County Court.
Oh, okay.
And he was the bailiff in the room.
Oh, wow.
At the time, and I didn't recognize him because it was 15 years ago. And he was teasing me unmercifully that I didn't know who he was.
That's funny.
But yeah, and then who was the kid that actually won the Michigan Majors?
Chuck Morris.
Chuck Morris from Garden City won the state amateur title, didn't he?
Right.
We gave away what? We gave away a trip to Toronto every
6 months.
After a while, yeah. And you'd get a sheet of gift certificates from like King Cone,
Misty's
Cards and Gifts, which was Pete Tavermina. All kinds of stuff.
Pizza,
like free bowling.
Free bowling.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
It was.
And it was bizarre. I mean, it holds up pretty good now, though.
And it was just funny how many people wanted to be on the show.
Yeah.
We
never had any trouble finding bowlers.
Never.
The
and
first
it
month
aired,
or two, it took us a while that we had to rig it up with our own people.
Bugs out of it.
Yeah, and get our friends. But after that, people were lined up to be on it.
They wanted to be on that show. I was living at home. They'd call my house,
And we did 150 of them. That's a lot of shows if you think about it.
3 years.
Yeah, because we'd go in and do 4 at a shot.
4 at a time.
Sometimes we do 12 in a week. I remember we tried to do like 3 days of 4.
Yes, and maybe the last time we did it.
Yeah, at the what is now Albert's on the Alley.
Right.
That was Silver Lanes. And you'd be shooting the Christmas show, and it was 185 degrees
We did do that
outside.
in the summertime. That's right.
So,
Christmas
but that was a lot of fun. So we're going to re-release those again. Look for those. We'll put the word out. Now, you've started running. Now, as a kid, you were the last guy in the group that was ever going to run.
Right.
And you have really gotten into run. And you're going to try to run the Detroit Marathon?
I'm signed up for it.
Okay.
October 15th.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. You've been running a lot of 5Ks in that, right?
Well, I haven't run it. The only thing I really run race-wise was I did the turkey trot last year, the 10K turkey trot.
Okay.
And that.
Well, and you ran the Willie the Pig Run, or whatever we call it, the Great Bacon Run.
No, I did districts.
Oh, there was district baseball.
I had district baseball. I had to work that day.
That's right. I forgot.
Though I did run it the night before this year. And had I run it in my age group, 45 to 49, I'd have taken second this year.
Yeah?
If I ran it next year, my score this year, I'd have been 9th in the older category. There's a lot of older guys that are faster than me.
As long as you can finish, that's all that matters. What is some of the other stuff do? Because you do a lot of public address announcing just like I do. And you and I tend to
trade off.
And kind of migrate between each other. But right now your biggest thing is Wayne State, Garden City, and Eastern, right?
Right. Wayne State football, men and women's basketball, and some volleyball. But Eastern
softball at least.
Softball, wrestling, gymnastics, which is my favorite.
Are you doing volleyball at Eastern this fall?
I'm doing some volleyball at Eastern this fall.
Okay.
Because of the conflicts with the tour and all. I'm missing a few dates. I think that's it, right?
And then high school volleyball, soccer, and whatever else.
I was at Madonna for a while, and where else? We've done some UAD stuff.
We've all worked.
Everybody's been to UAD.
Everybody in this room has worked at U of D.
I think so.
But yeah, so just a lot of the same stuff that I do.
Just hustling.
Just chasing around. We do Allen Park baseball if they'll pay us. We don't care.
Exactly. It doesn't matter. I just did, what did I do? USA Taekwondo National Championship.
Right, that's a big deal.
That was
Tell
the
people
Olympics.
about that, because I stayed away from that one.
That was 7 days, 5,000 athletes, 17 rings, all the way up to world class. I knew nothing about Taekwondo.
And that was at Cobo?
That was at Cobo. That was when was that? 4th of July weekend.
Okay.
And that travels. That's a traveling tournament. So this year it was in Detroit. It was the second year it was here. It was in Detroit in '08, and that's the Olympics. That's the
Right.
Taekwondo folks from
Right.
the Olympics that.
And the Detroit
That's
Sports
incredible.
Commission, which is a part of the Greater Detroit Chamber of Commerce, they're the folks that hired Kevin for that. And Kevin and I both work for them on the Prep Kickoff Classic,
Right.
which is the high school first high school games of the season that are used to be at Eastern, now they're at Wayne State. And Kevin and I split that up every year because there's always conflicts with Garden City, starting the season. So yeah, that's actually been kind of a cool.
That's a great event.
And a cool group of guys for us to work with too, because they
Sure
really
is.
have some nice connections, and they do
They
some
do.
really great events.
I did do for them last year was the senior games or something I did for them last year too at Wayne State, which was all Olympic events for senior veterans.
Oh,
veterans,
yeah,
The
right.
veteran games. That's what
Right.
it was. There was a
Right.
guy there that was a runner that was like 90 years old that
Okay.
ran the 3 miles. I was like,
And I've gotten to do the strangest, or not strangest, but the coolest thing from them is the NCAA bowling.
Oh, the bowling championship,
That are
yeah.
in Detroit like every third or
was in
fourth year.
Taylor.
Yeah, those are that's kind of fun actually.
I bet it
get a
is.
huge kick out of that. Watching them do TV bowling and people lined up along the lanes,
Mm-hmm.
and the stage manager, whooping everybody up to cheer, and the announcers are in a glass box on
no.
one of the lanes right next to it.
Oh, wow.
So I mean, they're right there in the room, but they're in this little lucite box, so the bowlers can't hear them.
All downriver.
All downriver.
Well, that's the bowling capital.
It is. Detroit is the bowling capital of the world. And one of the other things you've worked on diligently, and before I was even working on, is the Sandland Parade.
Sandland Parade. That's that's coming up.
That's right.
You know, we've been with that since what, 2000 or something like that.
Well, whenever the JCs kind of
Gave it
migrated
away.
out, you did it with the American Legion people for a couple, 3 years.
Pat
and then we
Squires,
formed
Don
a committee.
Spiteri,
Yeah,
Santa Claus and his wife. They
took
helped.
it over.
Yep.
So a lot of things and involved in a lot of really cool stuff in Garden City.
Yeah, it's a great place to be.
You grew up here, gone for a little bit off and
Gone
on,
for a couple years, but
for the most part,
pretty much.
you've been here your entire life.
Pretty much.
The best thing about the biggest piece of trivia about Kevin is he has the same phone number he's had since birth.
Yes. Yeah. In fact, this is the anniversary of my phone number. This is the 50th anniversary of my phone number because of what happened in the city with the rebellion. And so that's what brought me to Garden City. I was a conscientious objector. I wanted to stay, but my mom was pregnant with me.
Yeah, exactly. So you didn't have a
So
lot
I
to
was
say.
a fetus that wanted to stay. I was moved against my own will to Garden. We almost ended up on Brown Court.
Oh,
But
with
we
everybody
ended up
else on
with
Brown
everybody
Court?
else on Brown Court
That we
and-
grew up with?
Yeah, and then we ended up on Sheridan. So
Close to the corner.
close enough. Yeah.
By the Avina family.
By the Avina family. Well, they were on Cherry Hill.
Okay, technically. Well, good luck with all this.
Thanks.
Take
yeah,
a lot of
I'm excited.
pictures.
I will.
Take
for
whatever
sure.
video they'll let you take.
I'll come back like George Perot.
That's right. We'll
do it
finally
on
use
here.
this thing. All right. Well, I do really appreciate you coming in. I wish you the best
Thanks
of
for
luck
having
on
me.
this
Thank
trip.
you.
All right. Kevin Kramis, again, will be doing stand-up comedy for the Navy coming up in the next couple of weeks as part of the USO and representing not only the United States but Garden City. And we thank you for your service, sir.
Thanks. Indianapolis next week. I'm entertaining
Before you go
folks at Crackers Comedy Club before I do the Navy.
there. Well, how appropriate.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks very much for watching. Good night, everybody.